As New York State Senator, I'm committed to addressing some of these pressing issues in our state and nation. These issues, if resolved properly, can lead to a better society and develop the state of equality this country needs and deserves. In my first legislative term, I will be addressing and prioritizing several social issues, including the endorsement and renewal of the DREAM Act, pushing for fully recreational usage of marijuana throughout the United States, and studying an expansive reasoning behind the wage gap between minority men and women in New York State specifically. While New York State has the lowest wage gap between men and women in the workforce, this is still an issue that I find incredibly embarrassing to our country's state of well-being. This is something that my campaign and regime is going to work very hard in ending and possibly finding a solution to increase the wages of all people in the workforce. There are very hard-working men and women in the workforce, and there are very hard-working women that are not getting compensated financially for the amount of money and amount of work that they are putting into their jobs. This is something that needs to be addressed, and while New York State does indeed have the smallest wage gap, it is still 89 cents to the dollar that women earn compared to men. When this is compared to larger numbers, as far as six-figure salaries go, you're losing almost tens of thousands of dollars a year just based upon your gender alone. This is an issue that I will not stand for, and we are going to do everything in our power to fight it. A larger issue that my campaign team and I have discovered in our recent studies is that this is a very big issue in the minority community as well. As compared to women and men in the minority community, women are making almost 35 cents to 55 cents less per dollar than their male counterparts. This is an issue that we do not have an answer for at this time. In combat to that, we're going to be launching a full-blown investigation to the United States Department of Labor Statistics in order to find out what is exactly causing these wage gaps and exactly what we can do to solve them. Starting in the first week of March 2018, my team and I will be launching a full-blown investigation to examine the exact counterparts and pieces that are causing men to be making significantly more money in the workforce as compared to women. Our main goal is to tackle the rationale and reasoning behind the wage gap in the minority community, because that is the one that has the largest gap right now. Once we have a solution put in place for that, we will then tackle the overall wage gap in New York State to get it to the most equal pay as possible. Higher powers in our United States legislative branch are having a bit of a discrepancy with the amount of immigration that is flowing into our country illegally and legally. One of the largest issues with this is the packages that they bring along with them, thus being their children. Now, these people do not have any say in what is going on with their parents' choices and decisions, and they're being brought to this country illegally, whether they like it or not. This is not something that should impact those people who are being burdened by their parents' choices, and therefore I would like to fully endorse and back the DREAM Act that is currently up for renewal. Removing these young men and women from our country is completely counterproductive, and I believe that it is much more beneficial to our country if we invest in their future so that they can become the most beneficial, productive members of our society. Through the DREAM Act, we would be trying to fund college for these young individuals so that they can then become more educated and perhaps put themselves in a better state in the workforce. Since 2012, recipients of the DACA program have paid almost $2 billion in taxes. This is something that makes them part of our society, and instead of deporting them, we have given them the opportunity to contribute to our economy, just like every other American citizen will be doing. Removing these individuals from our country is borderline unconstitutional and certainly un-American. It is their right to pursue opportunity and education in our country and do their best to live out the American dream. Through this program, I believe that this will give them that opportunity, and I believe that by giving them this opportunity, it will in turn make our country a better place. The last issue that I would like to discuss, and arguably one of the more important issues that we are facing in this country, is the all-around legalization of recreational usage of marijuana. Marijuana is a harmless, victimless, and very beneficial resource that our country needs to be utilizing on a daily basis as soon as possible. By allowing the usage of marijuana on a federal level, we can start to move away from our chemical resources that we're using in our medication process in the United States. The medical resources that we are currently using to treat pain are not working. They're causing addiction, they're opiate-based, and they're destroying lives. And potentially there could be a case made that it's causing heroin outbreaks throughout the country. The amount of money that we're spending putting people in jail for this harmless substance is asinine. This is not something that our country can afford to do any longer, so we must legalize marijuana. Instead of paying to put people in jail for it, why are we not using this product and selling it across the country and taking the tax money off of it in a sense that we would with alcohol or tobacco, and using that money for more appropriate fundage? With this added tax revenue, we can allocate the money into multiple different sources, such as education, highway reform, And if we even wanted to pursue a furthermore war on drugs, we could use the tax reform to perhaps even launch further investigations into actual harmful drugs such as cocaine, methamphetamine, and heroin. In conclusion to my viewpoint on the legalization of marijuana, my campaign and I have decided that we are going to implement legalization policies effective immediately. In closing, my campaign team and I are looking very forward to solving these social issues that I have presented to you today. By legalizing marijuana, renewing the DREAM Act, and solving the crisis that we know as the wage gap, I think that we can make this country a better place together. I'm Devin, and I approve this message.